Okay.
Kanye's post. Find God. This is the weekly recap. Keeping up with it.
It's a full-time job. Welcome back, everybody. It's been a while. Things have slowed down in the Ye metaverse. I've been confused at what's going on. I've kind of taken a step back, but I have some good news. I'm back and I'm in full force today. We have an amazing guest coming to the show, and I'm excited to announce, people often wonder, why do you wear this mask? Well, because I believe in protecting my identity online. And that's why I found the perfect sponsor for the Kanye's Post podcast, the app Aura, an app that protects your identity online. Aura monitors the dark web to see if any of your personal information has leaked, emails, passwords. It monitors your credit accounts and alerts you to any suspicious activity fast. It also has a one-click secure VPN so you can shop, bank, and browse online securely and privately. It scans your devices for malware, ransomware, and viruses. It also has parental controls that lets your kids explore the internet safely. It filters harmful sites, apps, and manages screen time easily. And my favorite part, it automatically requests removal of your information from various data broker lists and people search websites. You can try Aura free for 2 weeks using my personal link, aura.com/greengirl. You're supporting the show while keeping your information safe online. They're giving all the followers on the page a free 14-day trial. Download it, try it, and see what they may find. Use the QR code on the screen or click the link in the description, aura.com/greengirl. So if you love Kanye's posts and all the content we're putting out there, this is the perfect way for you to help support the show. Help Green Girl out so we can get consistent content going for you guys. The link is in the YouTube description here, aura.com/greengirl. So as you know, there's been a lot of conspiracies brewing on the internet lately regarding Ye. Is that Ye? Is he a clone? There's no way that's Ye. Ye's a goner. I can't post a single photo of Ye without there being a flood of comments saying that that isn't Ye or that he's been cloned.
If I ever went anywhere, we'd know why. You understand what I'm saying?
So I decided who better to bring on the podcast than author, conspiracy theorist, big player in the truther community, Isaac Weishaupt. Isaac is an author. He's written many books. One is called The Dark Path. This is one of my favorite podcasts I've done because Isaac Weishaupt gets so deep. Like, you think Green Girl deep dives? Oh no, Isaac dives into the deep end. He brings up some theories that I've never even thought of. Mind you, this is all speculation. We don't know what's really going on with Ye. He's not in LA, so we're going to be doing a remote interview.
So we here.
I'm more of a night person. I don't read books like this during the daytime hours, typically.
Yeah, it looks good though.
I'm here today with Isaac Weishaupt, or at least that's what he calls himself. Isaac, this is your pen name, correct?
Yeah, that's right. My pen name comes from the name Adam Weishaupt, who was the founder of the Bavarian Illuminati, which, it's kind of funny. It was a terrible choice of a alias because back in 2011, I started going down this research journey. I had a blog and I had zero intentions of it becoming anything at all besides just something fun to do in my free time. And I was writing a lot of conspiracy theory type stuff, and a radio show out of Oklahoma called me and said, "Hey, we want you to come on the radio show and talk about some of these wacky conspiracies." And I had to come up with a name, and the website was is IlluminatiWatcher.com, as the I and the W. And I don't know why I thought, oh, that'd be cool. I'll Isaac Weishaupt, meaning, as a play on the founder of the Illuminati. But now, not knowing the psyche of the common truther, realizing that now, so for the last 13 years, I've been having to answer the question of, like, are you a disinformation agent? You're related to the founder of the Illuminati.
It kind of makes you seem like a fad, yeah.
Yeah, but it's like kind of too late, right? I've written 9 books and I've been on all these shows, and it's like, well, I guess I just got to roll with it and explain.
All right,
it
Isaac, don't need to brag here.
I want to name drop.
I'm kidding. So welcome to the show, everybody. Welcome back. It's been a few weeks. I've taken a bit of a break because things with Ye have been a bit confusing. Isaac and I had a podcast planned back in April, but then he got hit by a snowstorm, so we delayed it. But I'm happy he's with us now because a lot of weird things have been happening, and I feel like the general public is pretty confused. So I wanted Isaac on the show for several reasons. One, he has several books, like he said, but The Dark Path is the one I started with, and I don't know if I can say this, but it was a really easy read. And I mean that in the best way. Like, I breezed through this book. Everything, I was like, oh my God, I relate to that, to that, to that. This book, everyone should start with if they want to get into your stuff.
Thank you. Yeah, and that's actually the goal of my writing, because like I said, I started researching this stuff in 2011 and took it pretty seriously almost, immediately, and started writing books about a year later. And that was, I think, my sixth book was The Dark Path. I wrote it back in 2017, I think.
Were you on a dark path yourself?
No, it's funny because and my audience for my podcast and my books and all that stuff, I don't think they fully understand who I am or what makes me tick, but I've always been drawn to really dark stuff. I've always been intrigued by a lot of things that as a Christian I shouldn't be.
Maybe that is why I related to your book. I feel like a lot of shame because I'm so drawn to learning about the occult, but I know I shouldn't.
And I faced that same dilemma. I was basically born and raised in a church, a sort of Protestant type church. It was actually the Church of the Nazarene, which ironically is the same branch that Charles Manson was in when he was raised.
Of course it was.
I didn't really like church, to be honest. I didn't like socially, I didn't get along with the people I went to church with. It felt very judgmental to me. I eventually converted to Greek Orthodox, which I enjoy that church. It has a more of a mystical element to it. But there's elements of it that I don't agree with. And, but it makes me a bad Christian, right? Because I don't just take everything I'm told and just commit with full faith. And I wish I had that. I wish I was one of those people that's like, oh yeah, God talks to me and all this stuff. Like, I don't have that. I'm very humble.
God's presence ever.
When I go to church, I feel a presence. It's not strong enough for me to be like, nope, for sure, this is a real thing. It goes back and forth, right? My faith is very difficult. It's tough for me. And that's why I sympathize for people that aren't religious as well, because I get it. Because some days I'm not. Some days I'm like, dude, maybe this is all a lie. Maybe the Gnostics were right and this is just a big simulation. Like, it's possible, right?
Well, what about all the books you wrote? Do you believe that was God's timing helping you on your path? Or do you kind of credit yourself for all those blessings?
No. Like I've said this before, I feel very blessed. God has blessed my life. So like, I still, pray and give worship to God and all that stuff. But I also do question sometimes, maybe the church could be infiltrated by some bad actors, right? Like, look at the Catholic Church.
Well, I think we all
bad
know
actors there.
Bad apples can spoil any bunch, no matter what we're talking about.
Yeah, and I would never advocate to throw the baby out with the bathwater, so to speak. But it's tough.
After reading your book, it sounds like it's not just like religion that you question. You pretty much question everything.
Yeah, I ruminate. I have a lot of depression and anxiety, so I'm constantly thinking, and my brain doesn't shut down. I'm into like hip hop and horror movies and conspiracy theories, right?
That's why you're here. All those things are good for the Kanye's posts.
Yes, I follow Kanye for a long time.
I bet you could write a whole book about Ye theories.
You're right. I could literally just clean up the notes, and it would be a full book on Kanye, on Ye, I should say. I go back and forth. He's Kanye West in my mind. I know he identifies as Ye, but what really connects this all into conspiracy theories and the Illuminati by the Red Pill Daddy, Freeman Fly, he's the one that put me onto the realm of the occult, which is just a term that means hidden. That's, to me, the most tangible aspect of all these conspiracies and ideas, is that there's this real idea of these sort of forbidden arts of ritual magic and sort of bending the universe according to certain rituals and spells, right? I find it pop up all the time with symbolism and archetypes and rituals. Totally. And Ye has just a ton of this stuff. And I go back and forth. I mean, literally every month I change my opinion about Ye. Some days I'm like, this is the guy. He's gonna reveal the truth,
Well,
Then
I
the
think
next one, I'm like, oh, he's crazy.
I saw you in the comments the other day and you were like, yay, I'm sick of him. He's a hypocrite. He preaches about how he doesn't want his kids on TikTok. And then now he's eating off of these models. So it seemed like you were a little bit upset the other day.
Yeah.
Like, that's a common feeling that a lot of people get. There was a period of time, which I think it drew a lot of, like, I guess, so-and-so conspiracy theorists to the page, because it was when Ye was preaching what people considered the truth, and he was exposing the music industry.
We gotta get the truth before we can get the love, or else we're just loving the lies.
So everyone flocked to the page because they wanted to hear the knowledge that he had. They were like, wow, finally a celebrity has shaken himself out of the matrix, and he's going to finally tell us the truth. And then all of a sudden he just falls in love and gets married. And we're just like, wait, are you going to finish that thought? And everyone's kind of just like on the edge of their seats waiting for Ye to finish the expose. And I think a lot of fans are confused because he gave us breadcrumbs and didn't finish the essay.
That's well said. And that's been my beef with Ye. He would, just like you said, he would sort of tease that he's going to reveal how the whole system works, because he would know. I mean, he's like the wealthiest hip hop artist, and he's been there, and he's been to the top of the fashion industry and everything now. But then he doesn't come with any receipts. But then he threw me a bone and he released that text message with Harley Pasternak. And I thought, wow, okay, well, maybe this is going to lead somewhere.
It was kind of weird because he released it and then nobody covered it except Green Girl and Tucker Carlson. I don't know if you saw the paparazzi video where he actually addressed it and was like, how come nobody cared about my Harley Pasternak text?
Everyone, they saw the Harley text to me. People are looking over. You know, the media has run all these stories smearing me.
And that was like one of the last times we heard him publicly speak. Then all of a sudden these political agents kind of got sent into his circle.
Helping with the election?
If an announcement was to be made, that would be an official thing.
Okay,
that,
okay.
You know, may or may not happen at some other time.
All right.
Right now we're just getting to know each other and helping out.
And then he got married. So naturally people are like, you know, creating handler rumors. There's just a lot of directions we can go with this. He did say he thought Bernard Arnault killed Virgil Abloh. Like, he just randomly posted that and then never explained it. And then he's like, my mom was a sacrifice. And then, like, we didn't hear about that again.
My mama was sacrificed.
Me too.
You understand?
Yeah, I'm appreciative.
Michael Jordan, what about him? His daddy, right? Bill Cosby, his son, right? Dr. Dre, his son. You know, out in Hollywood, a lot of people come up missing.
You can't blame some of these fans for being conspiracy theorists because he kind of started
it. Right. And he's an interesting character because of all the times that he publicly went against the grain, you know, going all the way back to Hurricane Katrina, and he was standing next to Michael Myers and said George Bush hates black people, right?
George Bush doesn't care about black people.
That was Kanye West.
And in fact, I wrote a hip-hop book in, I think it was 2016, called Sacrifice Magic Behind the Mic. And I talked about Kanye West at the time, back then. And the whole purpose of the book was to discuss the occult in hip-hop, and it included the actual basis for blood sacrifices going back in time. You go to, like, you know, Central America and the Aztecs, and they would do human sacrifice, and we go through the whole gamut of
You believe all that?
History. Oh yeah. And there's proof for all that. So, you know, it goes beyond belief.
But what about, like, in Capitol records today? Like, do you think people are, like, drinking blood?
Well, that's where it gets a little more dicey. That's where it takes a little bit more belief, right? And this is the counter side to the whole Christian faith issue I have. I also have faith fully believing that there's lizard people drinking blood at the record place. You know what I mean? I leave room for those realities to exist, but it seems to me over these years that there is a lot of occult sort of ritual initiation things that these celebrities go through. Like Kanye West put Taylor Swift on, remember, back in the at the VMAs, because she wasn't an unknown, but she was nowhere near what she is today. I mean, now you got people wearing diapers at her concert.
I mean, I don't get the hype of the era.
I don't get it either.
That was like the one moment in the media where Ye was never forgiven after that. No matter how many times he apologized, it was angry black man bullied a little white girl.
Mm-hmm.
And I can say that because I'm green. But he apologized so many times. And he was even on like Jay Leno, and Jay Leno was like, "What would your dead mother think of you?"
That's terrible.
Let me ask something. I was fortunate enough to meet your mom and talk with your mom a number of years ago. What do you think she would have said about this? Would she be disappointed in this? Would she give you a lecture?
And this is all part of like they call it the humiliation ritual in truther circles.
It felt like that in all the media interviews he was doing. It felt like they kept bringing it up to humiliate.
And what's even crazier is that he went up there to steal the mic to say Beyonce had the greatest video of all time, and turns out years later we find out that the dance on that video, Put a Ring On or whatever it's called, she took that from some 70s video that had three ladies dancing in a circle, just same exact dance moves. So it wasn't even that original anyway, it turns out.
What, Beyonce's?
Yeah.
Oh, so you think Ye was wrong?
Yeah, like she has that. I'm not a fan of Beyonce anyway, which is fine.
Well,
like
I'm sure because everyone thinks she's like the leader of the Illuminati.
Yeah, her and Jay-Z, I wouldn't trust those two. And that's probably what is driving Kanye West to have this sort of wanting to reveal some kind of truth, because he's was pretty close with Jay-Z, and surely he's seen a lot of stuff at the top of the pyramid, I would guess.
I interviewed Malik Yusuf, who is a writer that worked with Ye and Beyonce and Jay-Z, and I asked him if the Illuminati is real, and he laughed and said, no. But I've talked to really high up music producers, and they were like, it's not what you think it is. It's literally just hard work. We're not like under a moon drinking blood.
On the one hand, I think there's a weird perception when you say Illuminati that people think it's a certain thing. But to me, Aleister Crowley basically revamped this magical society called the Ordo Templi Orientis. And for people who don't know what I'm saying, it's basically there's some people that are into doing magic, ritual magic, not stage magic like popping a rabbit out of a hat. We're talking about new age law of attraction ideas and sort of trying to manifest your own reality. That's what these people do using ancient texts and grimoires and spell books. And it goes way back, hundreds and hundreds of years. They're not just making it up out of nowhere, right? And it goes all the way back. If you want to get biblical about it, it goes back to the Book of Enoch, and the reason why God did the Great Flood was because supposedly these fallen angels came to Earth and taught mankind
how to manifest.
Basically.
Yeah, because we're supposed to rely on God as the source. We're not supposed to be our own gods. And that's why there's the New Age versus the Christianity. So I have a lot of friends that are trying to get me to manifest. And I was like, change the narrative.
Right. And that's a fundamental difference between the two things. And that's, and look, I don't condemn anybody. I don't care what people believe. Honestly, I really don't. And there's elements of having positive thinking that I think are beneficial. I actually meditate to alleviate some of my anxieties, because I think, and this is me being a total heretic.
I'm sorry. Molly, come here.
I got my dogs in here. I got my water bottle to spray them in case they start acting up.
Molly, she sees a squirrel. She's freaking out. Yeah. So, were we talking about devil worship? What were we talking about?
Yeah, we're talking about the fundamental difference. So
between New Age versus Christian. Yeah, it's like meditation. You're letting that kind of channel through you, and if you're praying, then you're letting God lead the way.
That's the idea. But a defensive meditation, because like I get it, that's also part of sort of occult thinking is meditation, even yoga and all those things. I think as long as I like to think that if I keep my focus towards God and not towards being self-empowerment of deification of myself, because the Bible also tells you not to be anxious. So you got to use the tools God gave you to alleviate these things, right? But what I'm getting at here is Aleister Crowley and the OTO, this magical order, that supposedly the OTO was going to be the new Illuminati. And the point I'd like to get across is that people think it's like, oh, these guys are worshiping the devil and the guy with the pitchfork and the horns and all that. And it's not quite like that. I think it's more subtle. I think it is more of embracing the idea that man can become God. And you'll see that a lot with these rappers. even Kanye West himself depicting himself as God and saying he
Told
should
you
be in
who
the
I
Bible.
thought I was. A god.
What's that now?
Remember? I told you who I thought I was. A god.
Did he say that?
I just told you who I thought I was. A god.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me, right?
I just told you.
In defense of Kanye West, I get it, right? That must be what it feels like to walk around as one of these celebrities. I compare modern day America to ancient Rome or ancient Greece, where you have all the peasants and we worship these gods and goddesses and we devote our energy and our resources to them. Taylor Swift's a good case in point, right? People are spending $1,500 a ticket and losing their minds, and it's like
Absolute insanity.
it's insane. But Kanye West, back in 2013, do you remember when the media was blasting him because he went on the Breakfast Club? And
it's the Breakfast Club. Good morning.
Hey, I love y'all. Thank y'all very much for y'all hate and support.
And he was saying stuff about how we're slaves to symbols, about how there's a social programming suppressing us.
We are mentally enslaved. We enslaved to brands. We enslaved to like a bin symbol. We enslaved to chains. A woman is enslaved to the concept of diamonds are a girl's best friend. Like girls in London don't even wear engagement ring. That's all been programmed into us. When we born artists. We born free, and then we held down by society's perception of us.
I agree with all that, but then he got in trouble. And the reason he got in trouble is because he started talking about the that same exact sort of racial issue he brought up last year. He was saying that back in 2013. And Charlemagne,
I mean, Charlemagne's controlled.
yes, and Charlemagne told him, he literally said, in the quote is, he says, "You're not on your square," which is a Freemasonic term. Kanye West was going off doing all this stuff, and Charlemagne warned him, said, you're not on your square.
Get back on the square and behave.
Yes. And I think that,
is that because the Freemasons have the black and white squares on the ground? I know that's like a Masonic floor.
yeah, and the worshipful master stands on an actual square. The black and white lodge floors, they call it the Moses pavement. It's a reflection of this idea of duality, and this goes into a much deeper topic of this idea of understanding that there is no good, there is no evil. There are only sort of the constructs that mankind has come up with. So the short version is that these people in the quote unquote Illuminati, they do all this horrific stuff to kids and sacrifice and all this wild stuff. They do it because it demonstrates to the other initiates and the other members that they fully embrace this idea that, look, there is no such thing as evil. Man should be able to do whatever he wants. Aleister Crowley says, "Do what thou wilt."
Aleister Crowley is like the leader of the occult. So you're referencing someone that a lot of Christians would be like, wait a minute.
Right. Even that phrase, "do what thou wilt," goes back before him hundreds of years. Goes back to the Hellfire Caves, which is this sort of Eyes Wide Shut-esque party they would used to do. This guy Francis Dashwood came up with this. All the elites would get together. They would put masks on and they would do sort of satanic rituals. And it was usually for the purposes of having sex with whoever they wanted to in whatever, degrading ways they wanted to. One common theme you constantly find, and even with Kanye West, is that it seems that some of these celebrities have been exposed to this kind of thing and they're not in agreement with it and they try to expose it. And why doesn't he just come out and say it and bring the receipts and prove it?
Well, do you think that he's scared that he could get killed?
I think he's more scared of his children, right?
Or he could be controlled opposition. A lot of people think.
Could be, right? It's really hard to tell.
He seems too much in stream of consciousness to be controlled opposition.
I know. And that's why I have a hard time with Ye, and I go back and forth because it seems like every other time I hear him, he's sort of either supporting the themes that I believe he could expose, or he's reinforcing them. I've got a really good theory. I don't know if you remember in 2016 when Kim Kardashian got robbed.
Oh yeah, that was a whole theory on its own. People don't even believe it happened.
Oh really?
Mm-hmm.
I think that because you remember what happened was she went to I think it was in Paris. She gets robbed.
Mm-hmm.
And then of course you got that Kanye song, Ends in Paris, but that's neither here nor there. But she gets robbed, and she said in the interviews, because I watched a bunch of them, and it wasn't on every interview or every news outlet, she made mention to how the robbers put her in the bathtub.
It's all about the bathtub. Like,
And
that's
it's always about the bathtub, right?
I was literally holding my breath, trying not to interrupt. I was just gonna be like, bathtub.
Oh,
I
you
remember
already, so
that.
you're already
I was
familiar with it.
literally gonna yell out bathtub, and I was like thinking about the comments being like, why did she interrupt yelling out bathtub? But when I think of that, that's what comes to mind.
Yeah, because you get all these celebrities. For people who are new to the idea of the bathtub being this sort of occult symbol, the best example would be Whitney Houston, who died in a bathtub. Then her daughter, just a couple years later, also dies in a bathtub. But what's really weird is that Bobby Christina, you know, Whitney's daughter, she was deathly afraid of bathtubs since her mother died, which seems just a little bit odd. Like, I get how, you know, that's traumatizing, right? Her mom died in a bathtub. Like, I get how you'd be like a little bit like, "Who? I
Every
don't know
time
about
you
the
look at the
bathtub."
bathtub, yeah, you're like, what?
But I don't know that I would be deathly afraid to ever get into a bathtub. But whatever, right? So apparently she is taking a bath and she dies in the bathtub. I mean, what are the odds, right? The theory being presented in a lot of truther circles was that this was some kind of sacrifice of these celebrities, these females. And when you dig into it, you find that there is a basis of reality for that in the occult. If you look at the idea of the sacrifice of the goddess, and in terms of like a lot of this pagan sort of witchcraft ideas, water is symbolic of the feminine energy. So it kind of makes sense that it would be a passage of water in the tub. But when you look at Kabbalism, which is just another one of these occult belief systems, in Kabbalism, they have a mikvah, which is a cleansing ritual for the goddess. It's before one passes over, they pass through the bathtub. You can see it in the movie Inception, right? They show you, and it's in a bunch of movies too. This idea of the goddess being sacrificed to pass over dimensions through the bathtub. So let's get back to Kim K. She has this robbery that they just so happen to not have any video footage whatsoever of, even though all these celebrities go through the hotel in Paris constantly. But okay, sure. Same with Epstein, right? Oh, they just happened to, the video cameras weren't working that night. Who would have thought? She gets robbed. The robber puts her in the bathtub and steals her jewelry, supposedly.
And then they interviewed the robber. I remember he was
Yes.
dead.
He just released a book like last year, and in the book he confirms that yes, indeed, she was put in the bathtub, because a lot of the news outlets didn't mention the bathtub, and I saw it on like one. Yes, I saw it on like one news outlet.
Why did I know?
I don't know. You're tuned in.
No, I'm not, because I'm not even joking. I didn't follow pop culture until the Ye account in 2022. I didn't.
Oh, interesting.
I thought I was like living my own life and making my own memories, so I didn't even follow. So the fact that I knew about the bathtub is interesting.
It is, because if you look at the articles, they don't. It's not in most articles when they talk about her. They just say she got robbed.
I always thought they robbed her, they put her in the bathtub and stole her jewelry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and from what I can tell, that's the accurate.
So what do you
sequence.
think that means? Do you think that the robber was like hired, or do you think it was like a legit? Do you think it was a coincidence? What do you think this was? Like,
I'm suspicious that he wasn't, without sounding sensational, a sort of hitman for the Illuminati. Put her in the bathtub, threatened her. Word gets back to Kanye West, who's doing his St. Pablo concerts.
That's when he was exposing everything.
This is a moment in the matrix, bro.
About the CIA and Facebook.
Gosh.
Google lied to you. Facebook lied to you.
I'm shaking. I have goosebumps.
I am putting my career, my life, my public well-standing at risk when I talk to y'all like this.
He goes on there and starts bugging out about all this stuff and naming names, and then they immediately
went off after Jay-Z that night.
Yes.
Jay-Z, call me, bro. You still ain't called me.
And he was going off after Zuckerberg and Google.
You was lying to my Mark Zuckerberg. Mark Zuckerberg, you want to call me now? Do I got the vision, Mark Zuckerberg?
And he was basically taking the 2013 rants and amplifying them.
I've been sent here to give y'all the truth.
And I was like, oh man, he's about to expose it all.
Wait, and that's when he went and got ambulance with Harley Pasternak.
He got 5150 to UCLA, where they used to do a bunch of MK Ultra stuff
And
back
they
in the
picked him up from
60s.
Harley Pasternak's house, and TMZ is
Yes.
the only one that had the footage.
Yes, exactly.
Why is he hanging out with his trainer? He doesn't even work out that much. Ye isn't even a workout guy.
Exactly.
Why
And
is he
this
always with his trainer?
that's my theory, is that they threatened him and he freaked out.
It's a new world, Hillary Clinton.
You know, and there's always been these theories about Kanye West being a clone. I don't know that I can get fully behind any of those, but
Doesn't
it's an
make
interesting
sense 'cause they'd
theory.
have to clone him when he was a baby, so that would have been 46 years ago. If anything, he has body doubles like many other celebs, but people just use the word clone. There could just be a body double playing Ye. We don't hear him talking anymore. We heard him clap back to one paparazzi at his new church location, but that's about it. Yesterday, he was spotted by a fan on the bus tour, and he didn't say anything. They were like, "I love you so much," and he rolled the window down.
You're a big fan. You're the best.
And he just smiled for like 10 seconds.
Appreciate it. Woo!
I fucking love you.
We were looking for you earlier.
You're my favorite artist ever. Seriously.
That's awesome. See you. Appreciate it.
So you think that might be more of a stunt double more than a clone?
I think we clone animals. I don't think we have the technology.
I mean, they made laws banning human cloning, and I got to think that is because it's possible. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true.
And this goes back to Paul McCartney from the Beatles. They say he died and he has a clone. It goes into Britney Spears, who I've studied a lot about. She had that car accident with Justin Timberlake, and they were claiming way back in, I think it was like 2003 or something, that she was dead back then. And I don't know, man. It just seems crazy, because it's like, well, then why would they pick and choose which celebrities actually die? But she did do a lot of strange things. Like, she had that video called Break the Ice in 2009. It was depicting her at this sort of cloning center. And the guy who, kind of the most famous guy who claims he knows about this cloning program, named Donald Marshall, he said that video was exactly what it looked like, because he claims, and it's a bold claim. I'm not saying I support it, but he says that he was born into this cloning center run by the lizard Illuminati people.
Who is this guy?
Donald Marshall.
Who the hell is Donald Marshall?
He wrote a whole book about
so many. You're name dropping, but it's like no one I've ever heard of.
Oh, okay, sorry. Yeah, I'm deep into the truther circuit here. But yeah, he's kind of the guy who popularized the idea that they're cloning celebrities, because he claimed he was born into a family that did this. And he said that, and I don't know why it gained so much traction from him, and people that are in the truther community say, oh yeah, this is the truth, because it's pretty preposterous. But he claims that there's these cloning centers underground where there's all of the celebrities, musicians, movie stars, they get cloned, and the Illuminati folks will go underground to these cloning centers, and they'll abuse the clones or have sex with the clones. Right. It sounds kind of wild, right? And I'm like, I don't know, man. That sounds a little sketchy. But I did have a guest on my podcast years and years ago, Dr. Kim McGeorge, and she seems like a really down-to-earth person when I talk to her, and she claims that she was in a relationship with a guy that witnessed all these things, and that this whole theory of Donald Marshall says they do it through what they call REM consciousness transfer, where when someone's sleeping, they can subconsciously, through portals of the bathtub or the mirrors or the windows, they've got the technology to come in, take Britney Spears' consciousness and sort of pull it into this other realm, clone her, and then send her back in, so she doesn't even know what's happening. Which, it all sounds insane, but you got to understand
it's always a tunnel. It's always like, everyone's always saying there's these underground networks in LA, but like where's the ladder to get in? I don't know.
To defend truthers who say, oh yeah, there's cloning centers, which sounds crazy to normal people, you have to understand the ideas that we as a society are kept in the dark, right? The idea is pretty simple. If you look at the DARPA and all these defense agencies, you got to understand the technology is about 20 years ahead of what the public knows.
We don't know anything about. They're not going to tell us.
No, like they we're very much Roman bread and circus. They distract us. They, and we play a role in this. I'm talking about Britney Spears and Kanye West, and
They're
really
distractions.
They're distractions, and there's bigger pictures at play here. And I also study aliens and UFOs and the phenomenon. And recently we had that whistleblower, and what he talked about. If you listen to the interviews, because everyone's wrapped around the axles of, oh my God, the government's got the Roswell craft and they're hiding it from us. Well, yeah, sure, we know that already, right? But what he's saying, he's introducing and spoon feeding the masses, saying these aliens are not extraterrestrial. They're not from another planet. They're interdimensional. He says it in different words, but he says it's a quantum thing.
That makes more sense.
Yes,
they're from the fourth or fifth dimension.
That's what Alex Jones says. These aliens are from a higher dimension, and I believe him.
Shane Cashman, who is a guest on my podcast, he does stuff with Tim Cast. He was on Alex Jones a week ago on Ye's birthday, and he brought it up. He wished Ye a happy birthday, and Alex Jones was legitimately, if you watch the clip back, he is shook by Ye's comment, and I found it very interesting because a lot of people are like, is Alex Jones controlled op? Like, is he part of it? Alex Jones was really affected by Ye's statement, and he made a point to defend himself and was saying how he was not in on it. You could tell he was traumatized from Ye's comment. I thought that was really interesting that someone as controversial as Alex Jones was so affected. And Shane was trying to explain, like, this is just who Kanye is. This is who Ye is. And Alex wasn't hearing it.
Because I feel the same way. If I was able to get Ye to do an interview on my show and he started going off on that topic, I also would not really enjoy that, because I feel like you can have that opinion, but you have to clarify and say specifically who you're talking about, because otherwise you're going to get people who maybe are too simple-minded and just start thinking bigoted, racist thoughts. And now they think that everybody from that group is in on the things, and it's like, not really. I mean, maybe there's a few people that are in positions that he has a problem with, and he happens to make these connections that, oh, they're all part of this thing.
He was mad at individuals.
Yes, and so say those names. Don't just put this blanketed thing out like all of them are doing this, and it's like, not really, because I have friends that are of that race, and like, I guarantee they're not part of the thing he's talking about. So like, you can't. He's got a responsibility, is what I'm saying.
I feel like so does Alex Jones, and he's pissed off a lot of people. So I was like, if anyone could understand some like blanket statement, it'd be him. And yet he's really upset.
I agree totally. And I love Alex Jones. I think he's hilarious, and he's done a lot for the truth community, but I have beef with a lot of the things he says and a lot of the ideas he pushes. I don't like the fear-based sort of, I don't want to say agenda, but he does push a lot of fear-based stuff. You know, he's constantly, oh my God, it's the end of the world and Marxist communism's taken over, and he, that's his shtick, right? And he gets all fired up, and it's entertaining. But when you're a big name like Alex Jones or Kanye West, you have some level of responsibility to try to not provoke people who look up to you and think and listen to every word you say. Like,
I don't think Ye's thinking about that one bit.
I don't think he is, and that's my only beef with him, is like, I support free speech, and I support him to be able to say whatever he thinks, but I also,
you're kind of being a hypocrite, Isaac, because you want him to say more.
I do. I want him to name names. And when he did that, when he released the Harley Pasternak text, I said, perfect. That's exactly what we need.
Pasternak was explaining that West had better stop saying, quote, crazy stuff. In other words, he'd better get back on script, or else he would be severely punished. Quote, second option, if you don't shut up, quote, I have you institutionalized again, where they medicate the crap out of you, and you go back to zombie land
forever. Play date with the kids just won't be the same. This is the way a Hollywood trainer was talking to me to force me to go and like apologize, right? But they could control LeBron James. They can control Jay-Z and Beyonce.
But not you, man.
But they can't control me. You see, it ain't no name I won't name. It's up.
I think that there's some really dark truths beneath a lot of these things we talk about, and
Well,
You
I
know,
could
I
go
don't
on
know.
and on about Harley because he was connected to Brittany Murphy, or even the Mac Miller death he was connected to. There's a lot of things he's connected to.
Yeah, and the threats that he lobbed towards Kanye West were, I mean, that was dark talk, right? And
Not
I'm
a
sure.
single outlet covered that. That's strange.
Yeah,
They wrote it off as like, oh, he was just looking out for his friend.
I don't think so. Well, I think a lot of people question the mainstream media, as they should, right? They
Well,
steered
we
us
all
wrong
know
a lot.
it's all lamestream at this point. Nobody really,
Yeah.
I think they've lost a lot of our, at least Gen Z and millennials. I really only think it's like my mom's generation holding on.
Right. Yeah, I think that the new way forward that they're going to try to control information is going to be on social media and Google search results.
Yeah, they're already
And
doing that.
you can already see it happening.
You've been seeing the way Ye moves recently. As I said, it's confusing fans. Where do you think Ye is at? Is he just drunk in love?
I certainly don't know, but I suspect he said he made mention about how he was prescribed lithium, right? Did you hear that
When was
quote
that?
he had? It was on Tim Pool.
Oh yeah, on the before he walked out.
He talked about being prescribed lithium.
The exact people that I called out kicked my head. We found out that my trainer was a MK Ultra Canadian intelligence.
He worked in the defense research and development in the Canadian military, essentially working on psyops in the Canadian military. This is Harley Pasternak.
They tried to medicate me. I was exhausted. They wrongly diagnosed me. And they when I asked them, how much lithium did you want to put me on exactly? It took them 4 days to answer because they were embarrassed about the amount, right? And I refused to take this.
The theory about having handlers, which I believe wholeheartedly, I mean, look at the Harley Pasternak text.
You read these Harley texts.
This is how he was ready. This is a trainer, but come to find out, he was actually Canadian intelligence, but this is my trainer. So this shows you the kind of handlers that are around the superstars in California, right?
The theory about handlers is that these celebrities get put on prescriptions.
You understand that if I had taken the medication, I would not be here, and it would have been, he was deeply troubled. We miss him. We love his music, though.
Milo Yiannopoulos said, oh, they're trying to Britney Spears you, meaning put him under control like a conservatorship. And Ye said, no, they're trying to Michael Jackson me.
Well, they would have Britney Spears you. I mean, look at
they would have Michael Jackson
or worse, yeah.
Which is a much darker theory, right?
Look at what they did to Britney. When she went in, she was tired, she was exhausted, she was in a bad way. But 10 years of that medication wrecked her brain. You can see it now. You can see there's not much of her left.
And what's interesting is that Jamie Foxx later, he said that he was having episodes of drug use like Ye was referring to. Now, I don't know specifically what he was talking about. There's something going on there with prescriptions and handlers. It's very possible that he is being handled right now, maybe put on a different prescription. I don't know, because he's a threat, right? He's got a huge voice. He's like the most successful hip hop artist of all time, basically. And he's out there over the years saying these controversial things and exposing the truth.
Well, I think there's on the other hand, have you ever met anyone and then you're just consumed in that new person? And then your dopamine levels are soaring and then you don't even care about saving the free world anymore because you're just like banging some girl. That could also be a logical, simpler theory that he's just fell in love and he's in the honeymoon phase. He could just be obsessed with Bianca.
It could be. Do you remember when he had that music track, as it was called Sensory Overload, that he posted to his social media? Remember that?
Yeah, and I actually received a screenshot from one of Bianca's friends who sent me Bianca's reaction to that song.
Oh, really? What'd she say?
He was like, I'll have to find the screenshot. I actually have never leaked this. It's so much time has passed that it'll be an exclusive for this.
Juicy.
So she reacts to the song and says, I'm in a hot sweat. Her friend is like, oh my God. And she says, I feel ill. So to me, this was a very real reaction and isn't giving handler. And then other friends messaged me that they had been hooking up for a while. Remember when he was doing like the quotes in black and the white writing on his timeline?
Mm-hmm.
And it said like, what happens when you fuck somebody that you work with? He said that back in September and everybody thought he was referring to Kim. But now looking back, fans think that was Bianca all along, that they had been hooking up like the whole year, so that she really didn't come out of nowhere.
Yeah, because she worked for Donda, right?
And she helped develop the Yeezy language. And there was rumors that Kim had already hated her.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I always mispronounce it. It's Donda, right?
Donda.
Yeah, I should just listen to that track, right?
So I don't know. What do you think?
She used to be a brunette, right? Now she's blonde. There's a theory that was put forth, I believe, by Fritz Springmeier, is this guy who wrote a book about mind control stuff. The claim is that when these artists, when you see them dye their hair blonde, sometimes that's indicative of a sort of MK Ultra type mind control event happening where it triggers what they call an alter, right? It triggers an alter ego. So I don't know if that's related. I'm just throwing that out there.
But Ye does like his women blonde. He always preferred Kim blonde. Remember the first time Ye appeared back into the public eye after being hospitalized? He turned up blonde.
Oh, interesting. Well,
there's always two sides to this. Like, it's so hard to know.
It is hard to know.
I think it's more magical for people to believe that she's a handler because nobody just wants to believe that Ye just fell in love. That's boring.
If I go off of his symbolism for Donda 1 and 2 at the concerts, right? There's a lot of symbolism of that you find in the occult of the phoenix or the rebirth. Because there's this whole idea that the Illuminati put these artists through, they control them, they handle them, and the theory is that they're trying to put them through a death and rebirth initiation, meaning a rebirth into a new way of thinking, because his old way of thinking wasn't working for them because he kept exposing the truth about how we're slaves to symbols and how the society is programmed. So the one idea is that there is the three stages of the ritual involve isolation for purification, and then transitioning into a new being, and then integrating into society.
So do you think that could be where the cloning thing comes into play?
I mean, could be metaphorical, could be physical. It's the idea, because remember in Donda, he isolated to go inside the stadium. That's when he started wearing the mask. So the mask is part of that. It's suppression of the ego. You see this in Eyes Wide Shut. You see this in Freemasonry. They call it the hoodwink.
I don't even know why I'm wearing this thing. No, I got to
Well, I'll tell you, you can't. Here's my experience in dealing with the truther community. Everything's a conspiracy. You'll never please everybody because there's always
I wonder, like, when I put this mask on, I do feel like a death of the ego. And Ye always said he likes to wear it because then people actually focus on what he's saying and he can articulate his words better. He wants people to listen to what he's actually saying instead of worrying about how he looks.
Which is kind of preposterous because you can't get past the appearance. Like when he was on Alex Jones, like. I mean, the mask it's just, I don't know. It's kind of crazy, but in terms of Illuminati rituals, it's part of the death of the ego is to suppress the sense of self. And that's what you see in all the concert symbolism. And it goes to Phoenix symbolism. It shows him like levitating, remember at the end?
Oh, yeah.
But it shows him sort of going through this process of death and rebirth. And when he's wearing the mask out in public, it's arguable that that's what we're seeing is him trying to be reborn into this new way of thinking. And a lot of it,
now he's not wearing it. So what do you think? Is he like assimilated now back into society?
That's what I would guess. I would, if you force me to have an opinion, that's what it would be, is that Bianca Sensori is part of this, and on one level or another, of him sort of integrating as the new Ye. And she had a design. I did some digging in on her when this first broke. Let me find it in my notes here. She had a business called Nylon's Jewelry, and I found a piece of jewelry of hers that had the Star of David, which I found super ironic because at the time Ye was, in trouble for all those things he was saying. I thought, well, that's really bizarre.
She also designed a sculpture at Cult Gaia. Cult Gaia actually installed one of her statues recently, but they didn't give it public credit. It was like during January. So it was when Ye was still in trouble. That was kind of random. Jewish-owned business, and they didn't want to credit Bianca because of her association with Ye. I drive by it. It's on Melrose, and then Ye just opened up a store across the street on Melrose. He has this new store that's happening. And what about like all the shaved heads? Is that significant?
Yeah, because he's always pushing this dystopian sort of, I don't know,
genderless, like one unisex line of clothing. Isn't that kind of deleting polarity?
Yeah, well said. Yeah, exactly. It's very strange his symbolism he pushes. It's I always joke around. You ever see Zoolander? They call it derelict. It's like
Derelict.
homeless fashion, right?
Well, yeah, Mugatu literally wanted that derelict to be homeless.
And that's what you saw in the video for Run This Town. Remember Run This Town with Jay-Z and Kanye and Rihanna? And that was the one where behind the scenes footage is where they saw Jay-Z wearing the Aleister Crowley hoodie, Do What Thou Wilt, was for that video, which shows us a dystopian future.
Well, also Ye said, look, I look to the homeless for my fashion inspiration.
Derelict! It is a fashion, a way of life inspired by the very homeless, the vagrants, the crack whores that make this wonderful city so unique.
Derelict!
Derelict!
There's a lot of confusion because on one hand, he is in November preaching the gospel, preaching restoring the family unit, and he wanted to make sure that there was a man and there was a female, and now he's pushing this like clothing line that is essentially the opposite of that.
He's really hard to dial in. He goes, it's almost like he's bipolar, and we get these two sides, and
then
the whole
can't figure it out.
Right. It almost makes you focus more because you're trying to wrap your head around this enigma of who this guy is, trying to nail down who he is.
Yeah, like we're not sitting here trying to decode what I guess Trevor Noah is saying or even Jay-Z, because they're not saying anything. I just think that a lot of fans are like, is he a Christian? Because a lot of the people that Bianca is associated with have a lot of satanic symbols on their Instagram. So people are confused.
And then Ye was hanging out with, Marilyn Manson at his concerts. And
well, they always say Jesus hangs with the sinners. So that's how the fans justify that. But
right. And I defend that. I actually agree with that. It's like, well, I mean, you're supposed to be friends with the people who, may draw them towards the light.
Yeah,
I get it.
New Testament is very love everyone. And that was his whole hashtag love speech.
Yeah, I don't know. I go back again. I don't know the answers. I know with the Kanye West Sunday service thing, this is again a great example of the sort of bipolarism. You could argue that, he's tried to popularize the gospel and Christianity, this, that, and the other. He made the gospel album. Okay, cool. Yeah, I could see that. But then also there's this other side of the argument that, well, it could just be this huge sort of tax write-off thing, and he's just doing it for money. And because I heard it costs a lot of money to go to these things. I don't know if that's true.
My ticket was free.
Oh, did you go to one of them?
Yeah, I was impressed. And then some random guy just came up to me and winked at me and gave me a wristband, and it ended up being friends and family, and I was 4 rows in front of the Kardashians.
Oh, interesting. Well, I know a guy who has a I guess like a summer home or something out in Wyoming, and he is near the town where they do that. Apparently, he claims that you hear private jets coming in when they do the Sunday services, private jets coming in and all this stuff. And the idea
I've never been to a really private one. The one that I went to was at the Forum, so it was like a music, like a big music theater. Like it was huge. The general public could go.
Well, the claim is that there's financials involved with it, and it could be because churches are charity, non-taxable.
Had a church that's
and Kris Jenner had it. Yes.
It could have been her idea. We don't know. But now, like, did you see that the kids were all in the robes, and the news was claiming that Ye was having sushi on autopsy tables, but they were just metal food prep tables.
Right. Yeah. I think you get some of that too. You get some of the people that want to read into it to defend their viewpoint of Ye, and I go back and forth, so I don't know. But I've seen a lot of stuff. In fact, he had some symbolism of spirit, the spirit cooking thing with Marina Abramovich.
Well, he compared Kim Kardashian. He said she's a modern day Marilyn Monroe and Marina Abramovich, or whatever her last name is.
Oh, really?
Say your last name.
Why is not
Abramovich?
Abramovich. Oh, sorry.
So I thought Ye was kind of calling Kim a witch, but now he's kind of doing the same type of spirit cooking thing, but it's also the Japanese custom. So like, there's just, you don't know, because he's a huge
Julia Fox. Julia Fox was also doing similar to Marina Abramovich, similar art exhibits, right? Remember, she had a art exhibit where she used her own blood, just like Marina Abramovich was doing.
Ye also compared himself to Marina on The Breakfast Club. He said he feels like he's Maria.
Oh, interesting.
So he's always been influenced by not only Japanese culture, but also Maria. everyone that's like, that's not yay. I'm like, that's very much yay.
And Marina's just one of these big boogeymen for truthers, and rightfully so, right? She does a lot of really ritualistic type performances. And
wasn't Hillary Clinton at a dinner or something?
There was a kind of through a couple of degrees. The emails that dropped in 2016 showed that Tony Podesta, John Podesta is a very famous politician who I think he was the campaign manager for Hillary. Well, his brother Tony, who owns the artwork of the Jeffrey Dahmer artwork, the decapitated guy. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so Tony Podesta was on the emails getting invites to Marina Abramovich's spirit cooking events.
That's where I've seen that name. Yeah.
That's the connection there.
After this podcast, I'm realizing I think I'm a little bit more tinfoil hat than I thought.
I think you are. Sounds like you know a lot more than most people. So
I think like you, where it's like I try to think about both sides. It could be that, but it also could be that.
And it's frustrating, right? I wish I just had that. I wish I just had that faith to just commit to one and be like, no, Alex Jones is very sure he's got the answers. And I'm like, man,
I thought Alex Jones admitted that he didn't even believe what he was saying and did it for money.
Did he? I don't follow the guy.
Yeah. Someone said that he actually admitted that he didn't even believe half the things he was saying, but it was like a big grift.
I mean, he's making a lot of money doing it. So
it's so easy to grift.
Yeah,
it's so easy to just pick a side and just because you can just easily get that audience. It's so easy to just be a conservative right now. Like if I was to just start like doing complete right wing, like it would be so easy. I truly feel so divided in my head all the time.
That I know the feeling. There's a very clear and I know because I'm on this fence of I've got a day job, right? And it pays the bills, and then I've got this podcast, which is actually paying the bills too. So I'm like, what do I, the fantasy world is I just podcast full time, but then I'm worried that that's going to pigeonhole me into sticking with a narrative because I call it the truther to conservative pipeline, and I just won't do it because I don't agree with every stance they have. But a lot of people do it.
Yeah, you'd have to sacrifice some of your real feelings.
You're 100% right. Because to me, the truth's more important. I want to make money, but like I'm not gonna say things that I don't agree with.
You're probably a violet aura. You got to look into aura colors. You probably
violet aura. Okay, I'll
look into leaders of the new age, moving us into the age of the indigo. Well, we're gonna have you back on in a few months when more weird things start happening.
Yeah, I want to come out to LA. I love Los Angeles. I'm always out there for tinfoil hat and stuff.
I honestly think you guys need to all go on Amazon. You can pick up any of Isaac's books. You even mentioned you had a hip hop book. I obviously started with The Dark Path, but he also has one on, what is it, Behind the Mic?
Sacrifice Magic Behind the Mic. But The Dark Path has a big, healthy chunk of music discussion in there.
The book was music. You talk about Oasis.
The Dark Path is my general broad argument for what's going on with the occult and entertainment and the spiritual battle that's happening.
We fight not in flesh and blood. This is a spiritual warfare at this point.
You're not really writing for a specific audience in mind. This is legitimately how you feel, and whoever buys the book, that's who it's for.
Yep.
You're not writing specifically for one side.
No, that's because I sort of dance this strange line because on paper I'm Christian. I'm a conspiracy kind of minded guy. I do CrossFit. So like I say, I'm Marjorie Taylor Greene on paper, but in reality, I'm Joe Rogan, right? Like I kind of try to understand all these things. And
you're not Marjorie Taylor Greene on paper. I don't think she's a conspiracy theorist.
Oh, I think she is.
Oh, she is?
Oh yeah, big time. She's the one to talk about the space lasers.
There's a lot of weirdness.
It goes a lot deeper than I think you and I could ever have access to, I think.
Well, thank you for coming on. We'll have you on again. Is there anywhere else that we can find you that you want us to direct people to?
Yeah, I do a podcast called Occult Symbolism and Pop Culture that I talk about generally everything entertainment related as it fits into the Illuminati and the occult. I've got an Instagram where I post pictures that I'm talking about, videos and things. It's just Instagram.com/Isaac Weishaupt.
Thank you, Isaac. Awesome.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
We gotta get the truth before we can get the love, or else we're just loving the lies.
Bye, guys. Find God and his books.